Bonnie and Clyde. Two names that have become synonymous with the Great Depression era, evoking images of danger, romance and rebellion. Names that whisper of a darker time, a time when the American dream was overshadowed by economic despair and social unrest, a time when desperation fueled daring and love danced with death. The 1930s were a period of stark contrasts where the glitz and glamour of the jazz age clashed with the grim reality of the Great Depression. They were young, they were in love, and they were ruthless killers. Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, a couple whose love story was as intense as their crime spree was brutal. Their crime spree, a 2-year rampage across the heartland, left a trail of blood and terror in its wake. From Texas to Minnesota, their path was marked by violence and mayhem. Banks robbed, lawmen murdered, innocent lives extinguished. Their audacity knew no bounds, and their notoriety grew with each passing day. Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, forever bound by their lethal love, became two of America's most notorious criminals. Their images were splashed across newspapers, their exploits the subject of endless speculation and sensationalism. Their names, forever linked, became synonymous with violence and rebellion. They were the embodiment of the public's fascination with outlaws, a symbol of defiance against a system that had failed so many. They were the Romeo and Juliet of the criminal underworld, their love story a deadly dance with the law. Their romance was as much a part of their legend as their crimes, a tragic tale of passion and peril. But beneath the romanticized facade lay a brutal truth. The reality of their actions was far from the glamorous image that has persisted through the decades. Bonnie and Clyde were cold-blooded killers, their crimes leaving an indelible mark on the American psyche. Their legacy is a complex tapestry of love, violence, and the relentless pursuit of infamy. From 1932 to 1934, Bonnie and Clyde carved a path of destruction across the American landscape. Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, their names echoed through small towns and big cities alike. They were ghosts, appearing and disappearing with terrifying speed, leaving chaos and carnage in their wake. Banks trembled at their arrival. Lawmen braced for a fight they knew they might not win. Their crimes escalated with each passing month. What began with petty theft and small-time robberies morphed into a spree of bank heists, kidnappings and murder. They were ruthless and efficient, their desperation fueling a reckless abandon that made them both terrifying and strangely alluring. Bonnie and Clyde were the heart of the operation, but they weren't alone. Their story is one of romance and rebellion, but also of a tightly knit group of outlaws who shared their dangerous journey. Their gang, a rotating cast of outlaws and desperados, provided the muscle and manpower for their increasingly audacious crimes. These individuals were not just accomplices, they were integral parts of the Barrow Gang's operations, each bringing their own skills and daring to the table. Clyde's older brother, Buck Barrow, and his wife, Blanche, joined their ranks, adding to the gang's firepower and ruthlessness. Buck was known for his fierce loyalty and combat skills, while Blanche provided support and often helped in planning their escapades. Raymond Hamilton, W.D. Jones, Henry Methvin, young men drawn to the allure of easy money and a life on the run. These men were often from troubled backgrounds, seeking a sense of belonging and purpose within the gang. The promise of adventure and the thrill of defying the law were powerful motivators. They were loyal to Clyde, drawn to his charisma and daring, but their loyalty came at a price. Clyde's leadership was both inspiring and demanding, requiring absolute commitment and often putting them in perilous situations. The gang members knew that their lives were constantly at risk, but the bond they shared with Clyde and each other kept them united. The Barrow Gang operated on a code of violence, and betrayal was met with swift and brutal retribution. This code ensured loyalty and deterred any thoughts of desertion. The gang's notoriety grew with each heist and shootout, cementing their place in the annals of American criminal history. Their story is a testament to the allure and danger of the outlaw life. America, crippled by the Great Depression, was both horrified and strangely captivated by Bonnie and Clyde. Their exploits, splashed across the front pages of newspapers nationwide, turned them into unlikely folk heroes. They were young, they were in love, and they were thumbing their noses at the law. Photographs of the couple, Bonnie striking a defiant pose with a cigarette dangling from her lips, Clyde with his trademark cigar and a gun at his side, only fueled the public's fascination. They were outlaws, yes, but they were also glamorous, their love story a dangerous and seductive counterpoint to the bleak realities of the Depression era. The legend of Bonnie and Clyde wasn't just built on newspaper headlines. It was a story that captured the imagination of an entire nation. Their tale was one of love, crime, and rebellion, a narrative that resonated deeply with the American public during one of the most challenging periods in history. It was woven into the fabric of American culture, becoming a part of the collective consciousness. The streets of 1930s America were filled with whispers of their daring escapades, and their story was passed from person to person, growing more legendary with each retelling. Songs were written about their exploits, capturing the public's fascination with their audacious lifestyle. Musicians and songwriters found inspiration in their defiance, turning their criminal acts into ballads that echoed through the airwaves. Their names were whispered in hushed tones, both fearful and admiring. In dark alleys and quiet corners, people spoke of Bonnie and Clyde with a mix of dread and awe, their legend growing with each secretive conversation. They became symbols of rebellion against hardship, embodying the spirit of defiance that many felt during the Great Depression. As the Dust Bowl ravaged the land and economic despair gripped the nation, Bonnie and Clyde stood as figures who fought back against the crushing weight of poverty and despair. Their love story was a tragic ballad set against the backdrop of the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression. Their defiance, their willingness to stand together against the world, made them icons of a desperate time. Their willingness to fight back against the system, to challenge the authorities, resonated with a nation struggling to survive. They were seen as modern-day Robin Hoods, taking from the rich and giving to the poor, even if the reality was far more complex. Their story resonated with a nation struggling to survive. They were romanticized, their crimes often downplayed in favor of their love story. The media played a significant role in shaping their image, turning them into folk heroes for a desperate populace. Their crimes were often downplayed in favor of their love story, but the truth remained. Behind the romanticized image were real crimes, real victims, and a trail of devastation. Bonnie and Clyde were killers, their hands stained with the blood of innocents. Their story, while captivating, was also a grim reminder of the consequences of their actions. Their hands stained with the blood of innocents. The legend of Bonnie and Clyde is a complex tapestry of love and violence, rebellion and tragedy. A story that continues to captivate and caution to this day. The law, however, was relentless in its pursuit. Frank Hamer, a Texas Ranger with a reputation for bringing down outlaws, was assigned to the case. He hunted them relentlessly, piecing together their movements, anticipating their next move. And on a lonely stretch of road near Black Lake, Louisiana, the law finally caught up with Bonnie and Clyde. The ambush was swift and brutal. A hail of bullets ripped through their stolen Ford V8, cutting down the couple in a hail of gunfire. Their bodies, riddled with bullets, were put on public display, a gruesome spectacle that served as a warning to those who dared to follow in their footsteps. The bullet-riddled Ford, a macabre testament to their violent end, became a morbid tourist attraction. Their legend, however, continued to grow, fueled by books, movies and songs that romanticized their crimes and immortalized their love story. Bonnie and Clyde, forever young and forever on the run, became cultural icons, their names synonymous with a time of lawlessness and rebellion. Their story, a cautionary tale of love, crime, and the allure of the open road, continues to fascinate and horrify. They were criminals, yes, but their story transcended the headlines, capturing the imagination of a nation and cementing their place in the annals of American crime. The legend of Bonnie and Clyde often overshadows the reality of their crimes. The families of those they killed, the lawmen who pursued them, they remember a different story, a story of violence, terror, and the devastating consequences of a life lived outside the law. Their story is a reminder that the romanticized image of the outlaw often masks a much darker truth. Bonnie and Clyde were not Robin Hood figures, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. They were killers who left a trail of devastation in their wake. Despite the brutality of their crimes, the allure of Bonnie and Clyde persists. Perhaps it's the intensity of their love story, the reckless abandon of their youth, or the way they challenged authority in a time of widespread hardship. Whatever the reason, their names continue to evoke a mixture of fascination and revulsion. Their story, a cautionary tale of love, crime, and the price of freedom, continues to resonate with audiences today. The legend of Bonnie and Clyde, forever linked in life and death, serves as a reminder that even the most notorious criminals can capture the public's imagination and leave an indelible mark on history.